Does maxing out increase longevity with a sport like weightlifting or powerlifting? We're gonna dive deep into this concept and we're gonna start right now. One of the hardest things that athletes deal with as they're aging is to find the itch to actually train. One of my closest friends will regularly message me, "Dane, can you provide some type of goal? Dane, can you give me some type of challenge? I need to figure out what I can do to get back in and push it in the gym a little bit harder." And this actually brings up the idea of maxing out. And I want to share another quick story. When I did a podcast with Dave Tate, he actually sat down and said he likes to devote an entire year's worth of training to max out on a specific challenging movement pattern. And there's a couple different ways that we can go about doing this in the sport of weightlifting or powerlifting to help entice your mental aspect to continuously train. We even think back to our prime time when we were still athletes, right? But the aspect around this is that once an athlete, we're always an athlete. So how can we uphold this as we're aging? First of all, again, there's that one initial test that we can set up for ourselves personally that we can work towards. Second big aspect that we can do is understand long-term auto-regulation. So with this long-term aspect of auto-regulation, we can take a specific lift. I just turned 40, or you just turned 45, maybe you're 55, and you establish the fact that this might be your 40s PR. This might be your decade PR. This might be your 55-year-old PR. That's okay. Now we pick a specific lift. Let's say it's safety squat bar to a box. Let's say it's front rack single leg squat. Let's say it's dumbbell floor bench, anything along those lines. Okay, so we pick that one lift. Now the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna set up a 16-week time frame. Okay, so we can go, okay, I wanna work towards this big time lift. I want a single leg squat, 100 kilos for a set of 10 on each leg, which would be an absolutely horrible PR and you'll be sore for a week, but let's just pretend that's what we're trying to work towards. That lift, the single leg squat, will haunt me for the next 16 weeks. So for the first 8 weeks, all I'm gonna be focusing on is building my unilateral strength. All I'm gonna be focusing on is developing every single aspect that's gonna help me improve and attain that goal. So during the exposure phase and during the comprehension phase, we're gonna be focusing on accessories that will improve my single leg squat. We're gonna be focusing on dynamic trunk control exercises that will improve my single leg squat. We'll even focus on things like dumbbell single leg squat, anything along those lines that's gonna help improve from an auto-regulatory perspective. So let's say day one, I feel decent, I can push that a little bit. Day 2 and 3, I don't feel that good, so I'm gonna back off. Now, the next 8 weeks, okay, so we did 8 weeks of a large amount of volume, and that's gonna be done during the exposure phase and the comprehension phase. Then we're gonna lead into the ascension phase and the summit phase. So for the next 8 weeks, we're gonna focus on that single leg squat. We're gonna dial that in as much as possible. We're gonna add in a little bit heavier weights, and we're gonna start to really focus on how we feel on a daily basis. And we're gonna try and be aware of, okay, if I do this on day 1, I feel good. If I do this on day 3, I don't feel that good. So that's gonna set up for the following week that I could potentially test this at the end of this 16-week time frame on day 1. Okay, so we can pick that specific movement pattern to really develop, and now we start to really push. Then we set up that specific date. Let's say we have another 4 weeks where we say, okay, in the next 4 weeks, I'm gonna try and achieve this goal. I'm gonna try and work towards that single leg squat for 100 kilos for 10 reps on each leg. And I'm gonna do it on this specific date. If I get to that date and I don't feel that good, guess what? Just move it. Just move it back, it's okay.
Okay.
Your life's not going to end. We don't need to break down and cry on the platform. Just push it back a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. The next aspect is that when that date comes, you now have a really good training purpose. Okay, you work towards that, you hit that monster PR, that 100K single leg for 10 on each leg, you celebrate that for a week or two, and then you repeat that task. Okay, now you get in and you say, okay, now I actually want to do a zombie squat at 150 kilos for a double. Now I want to deadlift 500 pounds. Now I want to do a power snatch from one box for whatever weight. And you repeat that test, but it all comes back to maxing out. And what that does is you say, okay, I'm gonna go for broke on this specific day. I'm gonna build up for 8 weeks. I'm gonna go heavier for another 8 weeks. Then I'm gonna pick the date, and then I'm going to try to achieve that big time goal. But ultimately, we need to recognize that maxing out is okay. We also need to recognize that it's okay if we say, this is my 40s PR. Sometimes, guess what? You can hit lifetime PRs in your 40s just because you're putting more effort into those specific lifts. If you guys need help with your overall programming and you want to challenge yourself to get to that next level, remember, you're always an athlete and train as one. Train to become an athlete, and you can do that by heading over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. You can download Peak Strength and you can start to work towards those lifetime goals. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.